The Amazon rainforest is a vast and mysterious place, home to countless species of flora and fauna, many of which remain undiscovered. Among the whispers of the trees and the murmur of the rivers, legends speak of cryptids, creatures whose existence is unverified by science but firmly rooted in local folklore. Deep in the winding currents of the Amazon River, stories persist about the Yakumama, the legendary mother of water. This isn't your average fish tale. We're talking about a serpent of unimaginable proportions, said to reach lengths of up to 160 feet. Locals believe this colossal creature lurks near the river's mouth, waiting silently beneath the surface. The most unsettling part? The Yakumama is rumored to have the power to suck in anything within a 100-foot radius. Boats vanish without a ripple, and unsuspecting victims are pulled under, leaving nothing but questions behind. Some think it's the river's way of protecting itself, a guardian ensuring that only the respectful may pass. Is there a mammoth serpent hiding in those depths, or are these stories meant to keep thrill seekers at bay? In our number 9 spot today, we have El Tunchi. Walking through the dense Amazon rainforest, travelers might hear a haunting whistle that seems to come from all directions at once. This is El Tunchi, a malevolent spirit said to manifest as an eerie sound echoing through the jungle. Locals warn that the whistle isn't just unsettling, it's a lure. Those who follow it are drawn deeper into the labyrinth of trees and shadows. People who disrespect the jungle, taking more than they need or harming its creatures, are particularly at risk. Many have ventured towards that mysterious sound only to vanish without a trace. Is it just the wind playing tricks, or could there truly be a vengeful spirit guarding the heart of the Amazon? Either way, the legend of El Tunchi adds an unsettling layer to the already mysterious rainforest, reminding us that some paths are better left unexplored. In our number 8 spot today, we have the Mapinguari. Deep within the untamed depths of the Amazon rainforest, locals speak in hushed tones about the Mapinguari, a creature that challenges the boundaries between myth and reality. This towering figure is described as a giant, covered in thick, matted hair that conceals most of its grotesque features. But the most unsettling detail, a gaping mouth right in the middle of its stomach, lined with sharp teeth ready to devour anything or anyone that crosses its path. With claws long enough to carve through tree trunks, the Mapinguari is said to roam the jungle with a fierce sense of territory. Those who've caught a whiff of its presence describe an overpowering stench so vile it can bring a grown person to their knees. Stories tell of unfortunate souls who ventured too far and encountered this beast, never to return. Could this be a surviving remnant of prehistoric times? Perhaps a giant ground sloth that evaded extinction? Or is it a cautionary tale woven to keep explorers wary of the rainforest's hidden dangers? In our number 7 spot today, we have Encantado. Amid the winding rivers and dense foliage of the Amazon, tales abound of the Encantado, a creature as captivating as it is dangerous. Locals speak of these shapeshifters who often take the form of sleek river dolphins, known for their intelligence and mysterious aura. But when the sun dips below the horizon, the Encantado is said to emerge from the water as an irresistibly seductive human, blending effortlessly into nearby villages. With enchanting music and charm that can bewitch even the most guarded hearts, they draw people into their spell. The real peril begins when an Encantado fixates on someone, leading them to the river's edge. Victims are either pulled into the depths, never to surface again, or left with a haunting madness that defies explanation. Stories circulate of festival nights where a stranger's captivating gaze led to a person's disappearance by morning. Could these beings be spirits guarding the secrets of the river, or are they something far more sinister? The legend of the Encantado adds an alluring yet ominous chapter to the rich folklore of the Amazon, reminding us that not all that glitters under the moonlight is benign. In our number 6 spot today, we have the Chulachaki. Stories circulate among Amazonian villages about the Chulachaki, a mysterious entity said to roam the depths of the rainforest. This dwarf-like being has a chilling talent. It can perfectly mimic the appearance and voice of a loved one. People recount instances where they heard a familiar call from the tree line, only to see a friend or family member beckoning them deeper into the woods. Something feels slightly off. A mismatched shoe perhaps, or an unusual gait, but curiosity often overcomes caution. Once the Chulachaki has lured its victim away from the beaten path, the forest seems to shift and change, leaving them hopelessly lost. Many believe that the Chulachaki is the guardian of the jungle, fiercely protecting it from those who would do it harm. In our number 5 spot today, we have the Maracoxi, a mysterious group of large, hairy, ape-like humanoids that bear a striking resemblance to the legendary Bigfoot. Standing taller than any known primate, these creatures are said to be covered in thick fur with eyes that pierce through the dense jungle foliage. Locals speak of eerie encounters where menacing figures watched from the shadows, emanating guttural sounds that sent chills down the spine. Highly territorial, the Maracoxi are believed to be fiercely protective of their domain. Those who unknowingly cross into their territory risk facing aggressive displays or even outright attacks. There are unsettling stories of explorers and hunters who ventured too far and vanished without a trace, their disappearances attributed to these elusive beings. Some speculate that the Maracoxi could be a lost branch of the evolutionary tree, or perhaps a primitive tribe shrouded in secrecy. Could there be truth to these stories, hiding just beyond the edge of the known world? In our number 4 spot today, we have the Sucuriju gigante. Deep within the shadowy waters of the Amazon, legends speak of the Sucuriju gigante, a serpent of unimaginable proportions that makes even the largest known anacondas seem like mere garter snakes. This isn't just another tall tale. Locals swear by sightings of this behemoth, describing a creature so massive it can coil itself around entire boats and drag them under without a ripple left behind. Fishermen share whispered stories of ripples that grow into waves, of enormous scales glimpsed just beneath the water's surface, and of friends who ventured into certain parts of the river, never to return. The jungle teems with unexplained disappearances and eerie accounts of livestock vanishing from riverbanks overnight. Could a snake of such colossal size truly evade scientific discovery, or is this just a manifestation of the Amazon's untamed spirit? Either way, the mere possibility keeps even the bravest souls a little wary, reminding us that some depths are better left unexplored. In our number 3 spot today, we have the Sachamama. In the deepest reaches of the Amazon rainforest, where the trees tower like ancient guardians, stories emerge about the Sachamama, the mother of the jungle. This isn't merely a snake, but a colossal serpent so immense that over time the forest has grown over her, with trees and vines intertwining across her massive form. Travelers speak of moments where the jungle falls eerily silent and a strange tranquility washes over them. It's then that they realize they're standing upon something that's not Earth, but the scaled back of the Sachamama herself. Despite her seemingly immobile state, she possesses a hypnotic power that can entrance anyone who wanders too close, trapping them in an eternal spell. Those ensnared are said to become one with the jungle, their stories ending where the Sachamama's begins. Is she a benevolent protector of the wild, or a lurking danger awaiting the next unsuspecting soul? In our number 2 spot today, we have Latunda. Among the many eerie tales that echo through the Amazon rainforest, the legend of Latunda sends shivers down the spine like no other. Originating from Afro-Ecuadorian lore, this shape-shifting vampiric creature is said to prowl the jungle, searching for unsuspecting victims. Latunda has a terrifying ability. It can perfectly mimic the appearance and voice of a loved one, be it a family member, a close friend, or even a romantic interest. Everything everything seems normal, but there's always something subtly off that hints at the imposter beneath the facade. Luring people deeper into the tangled heart of the forest, Latunda isolates them from any chance of rescue. It's in this remote wilderness that she reveals her true form, draining the life force of her victims to sustain her own existence. Stories tell of people who followed a familiar face into the trees, only to disappear without a trace. And finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have the black jaguar. Amidst the labyrinth of vines and towering trees in the Amazon, tales abound of the black jaguar, known locally as the jaguar negro. This isn't your average big cat, it's a mystical, melanistic jaguar said to be larger than any ever documented. Cloaked in fur so dark it seems to absorb the light, this elusive predator moves through the jungle like a shadow-given form. Locals whisper that its eyes glow with an otherworldly light, piercing the inky darkness of the forest nights. Believed to possess supernatural powers, the black jaguar is more than just an animal. It's considered an omen of death. Hunters who have attempted to track this creature often vanish without a trace, fueling stories that it can traverse between the physical world and the spiritual realm. Some say it guards the secrets of the jungle, ensuring that its mysteries remain untouched by human hands. Whether rooted in reality or born from cautionary tales, these creatures embody the perils that can befall those who venture unprepared into the unknown. Exploration is a human instinct, but some secrets of the Amazon might be best left undisturbed.
Arapaima, also known as the Pirarucu, is a prehistoric titan of the Amazon River. I mean, just look at the size of it. It is one of the largest freshwater fish in the world, reaching lengths of up to 10 feet and weighing as much as 440 pounds. This immense fish has been swimming in the Amazon for millions of years, even before the time of the dinosaurs. Its striking appearance with its shimmering armor-like scales make it look like something out of an ancient world. And what's especially remarkable about the Arapaima is its air-breathing ability. Unlike most fish, it has a specialized swim bladder that allows it to breathe air, making it capable of surviving in oxygen-depleted waters that would be deadly for most other fish. And the Arapaima's adaptation makes it almost indestructible to predators like piranhas, who are often no match for its size. But its ability to breathe air also makes it more vulnerable to humans. These fish must surface every 15 to 20 minutes to gulp up air, which makes it an easy target for fishermen. Due to overfishing and habitat destruction, these fish were pushed to the brink of extinction in the 90s. Thankfully, conservation efforts led by indigenous tribes in the region have helped restore their numbers. Today, the Arapaima remains a keystone species in the Amazon ecosystem, playing an important role in maintaining the balance of life in these waters. Few creatures are as synonymous with danger in the Amazon as the green anaconda. This massive snake can grow up to 29 feet in length and weigh over 550 pounds, making it the heaviest snake in the world. While anacondas are non-venomous, they are exceptional at constricting their prey. Using their immense size and strength, they can just squeeze the life out of animals like capybaras, caimans, and even jaguars. What makes the green anaconda so terrifying is that, but also its stealth. Often lurking beneath the water's surface, it can ambush unsuspecting prey with lightning speed. These snakes have earned a place in Amazonian folklore where they are seen as mystical guardians of the forest. And sightings of green anacondas attacking are rare. The fear they inspire is rooted in truth though. Their sheer size and strength make them capable of overpowering just about anything that crosses their path. And because they live in the murky waters of the Amazon, many believe these creatures are far more dangerous than they've been given credit for. Now, at first glance, the electric eel may seem like an unassuming fish, but it is anything but ordinary. This knife fish can unleash a jolt of electricity as powerful as 860 volts, enough to stun or incapacitate its prey. Now, despite its name, the electric eel is not actually an eel. It belongs to a group of fish called knife fish. It thrives in the slow-moving, muddy waters of the Amazon and has 3 specialized organs that allow it to generate electricity. Electric eels use their powerful shock for multiple purposes, including hunting, self-defense, and navigation. When hunting, they can immobilize prey in an instant, making them formidable predators in the river. Early explorers were shocked, literally, by their electric bursts, with some accounts claiming that even horses wading through the river were incapacitated. Today, scientists are studying the electric eel's ability to generate electricity, hoping to unlock secrets that could be applied to bioelectric technology in the future. But for now, the electric eel remains one of the most shocking creatures in the Amazon. Most people associate bull sharks with saltwater, but these aggressive predators can thrive in freshwater environments as well, including the Amazon River. Bull sharks are known for their remarkable ability to survive in both saltwater and freshwater, which allows them to travel far inland. In fact, they've been documented as far as Peru, making them one of the few shark species capable of entering the Amazon. What makes bull sharks especially terrifying is their reputation for aggression. With a bite force of over 1,300 pounds, these sharks are capable of taking down some pretty large prey. Their presence in the Amazon adds a new layer of danger to an already treacherous environment. While sightings of bull sharks are pretty rare, their ability to adapt to freshwater habitats makes them an unpredictable and dangerous river monster. The kangaroo, often referred to as the vampire fish, is one of the most feared and misunderstood creatures in the Amazon. This small parasitic catfish is infamous for its ability to enter human orifices. Though many of these stories have been exaggerated over time, in reality, these fish primarily prey on fish by attaching itself to their gills and feeding on their BLOOD. But its reputation for seeking out human orifices has made it a subject to some pretty gruesome stories. At less than an inch long, the vampire fish is hardly intimidating in terms of size, but its backward-facing spines make it a pretty effective parasite, allowing it to latch onto its prey with terrifying precision. Scientists are still fascinated by how this fish is able to locate its prey in the murky waters of the Amazon, relying on its ability to sense the chemicals released by fish. While the stories about them attacking humans are largely myths, the fish's real behavior is enough to earn its place on this list of river monsters. At first glance, the pacu fish might appear harmless, but its human-like teeth and its powerful bite make it one of the more unsettling creatures in the Amazon. Related to the piranha, the pacu is a primarily herbivorous fish that feeds on nuts, fruits, and seeds. Its teeth, which resemble those of humans though, are designed for crushing, not tearing flesh. But despite its plant-based diet, the pacu has occasionally bitten swimmers, leading to chilling legends of its aggressiveness. And now, although rare pacu attacks on humans have happened, fueling stories of the fish's aggression. Its human-like teeth are also just creepy looking, and it makes it seem like a fish caught between two worlds. Part herbivore, part predator, and all creepy. For many, the pacu remains one of the Amazon's most curious and unnerving creatures. The giant otter is a formidable predator in the Amazon River, earning its nickname river wolf. These 6-foot-long otters are social creatures, hunting in packs to take down prey much larger than themselves. They're known to hunt caimans, anacondas, and other large animals with their sharp teeth and coordinated attacks. Giant otters are highly territorial, and while they often display playful behavior, they can also be incredibly aggressive when protecting their territory. Despite their reputation for being cute and playful, which they are, giant otters are far from harmless. Their pack mentality and efficiency as hunters makes them one of the most formidable creatures in the Amazon. When they feel threatened, they can turn violent, using their powerful jaws and sharp teeth to defend themselves and their family. The giant freshwater stingray is one of the largest and most dangerous creatures in the Amazon. It can grow up to 16 feet in length and weigh over 1,300 pounds. These enormous rays are equipped with a venomous spine capable of delivering excruciating pain, making them a threat to anyone who gets too close. The giant stingray is a bottom dweller, often hiding in the sandy riverbeds of the Amazon, which makes encounters rare, but memorable in not a good way. Now, their size and venomous sting are enough to make them terrifying, but it's their elusive nature that makes them even more mysterious. The giant freshwater stingray's ability to blend into the riverbed makes it nearly invisible to the untrained eye, but when they strike, they deliver a painful blow that can cause serious injury or even death. The red-bellied piranha is perhaps the most infamous of all Amazonian fish. With their razor-sharp teeth and their insatiable appetite, these fish are known for their feeding frenzies, where they strip the flesh off a carcass in a matter of minutes. While piranhas are more scavengers than hunters, their aggressive reputation is not entirely unwarranted. Their feeding frenzies, though often exaggerated in movies like Piranha and Piranha 3D and There's tons of piranha movies, too many piranha movies. When conditions are right, piranhas can become an unstoppable force of nature. Piranhas are not as dangerous to humans as their reputation suggests, but they can pose a threat if provoked or in times of desperation. In the Amazon, where food is sometimes scarce, a group of piranhas can become a terrifying sight for anyone who ventures into the water. The Bato, or Amazon river dolphin, is one of the most mysterious and fascinating creatures in the Amazon. Not only is it famous for its pink color, it's also surrounded by myths and legends. Indigenous stories describe these things as shape-shifting entities that come ashore to seduce humans, further adding to its mysterious allure. And while these myths are interesting, the Bato's biology is just as captivating. The Amazon river dolphin has a unique set of adaptations that allow it to thrive in the murky waters of the river. Its flexible neck and bulbous forehead, used for echolocation, make it perfectly suited for navigating in dark, silty waters. The river dolphin is highly intelligent and social, living in small groups. While it's not dangerous to humans, its mythical status and unusual features make it one of the most fascinating creatures in the Amazon. These river monsters prove the Amazon River is a place where the line between myth and reality can be blurred sometimes. Each creature plays a role in the delicate ecosystem of the river, and each adds to the Amazon's reputation as one of the most mysterious and dangerous places on Earth. From the massive Arapaima to the elusive Bato, the creatures of the Amazon continue to captivate researchers and adventurers alike. Let's talk about the Goliath bird eater. Sounds terrifying, and it is. This beast of a spider can have legs that stretch out as long as 12 inches or 30 centimeters. 12 inches of spider, that's too much. Their bodies alone can even reach just over 5 inches or 13 centimeters. Imagine that crawling across your floor at night. Luckily, these things are mostly found in the Amazon rainforest. If you were spending the night there, you'd have a lot more some dark corner somewhere. When they feel threatened, they do this creepy thing where they rub their legs and abdomen to release irritating hairs that can hurt your eyes or your skin. They also have big fangs, but their bite isn't actually that bad. It's more like a wasp sting, painful but not deadly. And even though they're called bird eaters, they mostly eat insects, frogs, and small animals like lizards or snakes. They don't go around snatching birds all the time, but they have been known to. They'll eat whatever they can drag back to their burrow, and once they've got their prey, they liquefy it and suck it dry. The Arapaima is one of the most incredible fish in the world. It's a monster of a fish, able to grow up to 10 feet long and weigh over 440 pounds. They're native to the Amazon and Essequibo basins and are some of the biggest freshwater fish in the world. They have these sleek torpedo-shaped bodies and bright red markings. They're beautiful creatures, but very intimidating. They're tough too. Their scales are practically armor. Now, unlike most fish, the Arapaima needs to surface for air and has a modified swim bladder that works almost like a lung, letting it grab oxygen from the air. So it can survive in oxygen-deprived water, making it a top predator in places where other fish might struggle. These things can hunt fish, crustaceans, even small land animals that wander too close to the edge of the water, and if you're lucky enough or unlucky enough, depending on your perspective, to spot one, don't be surprised if it suddenly leaps out of the water. These giant fish can jump when they feel threatened. With all that size and strength, the Arapaima definitely deserves its place as one of the scariest creatures in the Amazon. This right here is a Payara fish, aka the vampire fish. Wonder how it got that nickname. Yes, these things are known for their massive fangs. It's a pretty ferocious predator, with the larger of their species growing up to 3 feet long, which doesn't sound that big compared to the last one, but I mean, with fangs like that, you really don't need to be more than 3 feet long. Their fangs, which are really more like tusks, can grow up to 6 inches in length. They use these to impale their prey after a quick, brutal lunge. In fact, their fangs are so big that the Payara has special holes in its upper jaw just to stop it from jabbing itself. These things eat piranhas for breakfast, literally. Kind of gives you an idea of how vicious they can be. Definitely not a fish you want to mess with. This is an Amazonian giant centipede, aka a nightmare wrapped in legs. It's the largest centipede species in the world, growing up to 12 inches long. They're found in places like Brazil, Cambodia, and Venezuela, hiding under rocks and under leaves, waiting for their next meal. And speaking of that, what do they eat? They're carnivores, and they'll hunt down pretty much anything they can overpower. Insects, frogs, lizards, even small birds and bats. Some of the larger ones are so strong they can catch bats. They'll climb up cave walls and then hang on with just a few of their legs and then catch a bat. Now, while they mostly hunt smaller animals, don't think for a second that you're safe from them. They're also venomous. The venom might not always be deadly to adults, but it can cause extreme pain and swelling, and in some cases can be fatal. When it comes to predators of the Amazon River, the black caiman is at the top of the food chain. These things are massive, growing up to 20 feet long, basically an alligator on gear. I mean, look at this thing. That's just a dinosaur. They're the top predators in the water, and they're not picky eaters. They'll take down anything from piranhas to monkeys to deer and even anacondas. And if you've been watching the channel lately, you know how massive anacondas can get in the Amazon. So of course, these things will also attack humans. In 2010, a biologist named Dee Neshimura had a run-in with a black caiman. While cleaning fish on her houseboat, one just popped out from under her boat and chomped her leg off before she managed to fight it off. Luckily, she made it out alive, but it's still a tragic incident. The gator had been waiting under her boat for months. These guys are patient and deadly, making them one of the scariest creatures in the Amazon, without a doubt. That's one big beetle, a titan beetle to be exact. These things can grow up to 6.7 inches long. They're one of the biggest insects on the planet. Native to the rainforests of South America, including Venezuela, Colombia, and Brazil, they're rarely seen, being that they're nocturnal and usually hide in rotting wood. They spend most of their time on the forest floor searching for rotting wood to feed on. They also have these special sensory hairs on their bodies to help them sense changes in the environment, which makes them excellent hunters in the dark. If you do happen to cross paths with one, you better hope you don't scare it, because titan beetles can snap wooden sticks in half, and yes, those mandibles are strong enough to tear into your flesh too. They're known to be pretty fierce when it comes to defending themselves. In February of 2019, something washed up on the shores of Marel Island in the Amazon River, a dead humpback whale calf. It wasn't exactly on shore even, it was all the way into the trees. Finding a whale this far up the Amazon River was already strange, but it wasn't just the location, it was the timing. By February, these whales are usually long gone from the area, heading back to the south. The calf had no visible injuries, so poaching wasn't the issue. Scientists had no idea what they were dealing with here. One theory is that the whale was separated from its mother during migration, and the currents pushed it into the river. Once it got there, it got stuck in the mangrove swamp, too weak to get out. It's also possible the whale swallowed plastic waste, which may have sped up its death. One thing is for sure though, no one was ever expecting to see this. It's one of the oddest discoveries in the Amazon in recent years. This next animal is very strange, a bat with the face of a bulldog, which can also fish. It's the only known bat species to fish. The bulldog bat is one of the strangest creatures in the Amazon. I mean, I didn't think these things were actually gonna look like bulldogs, but they really do. And they're built to fish. With their large, pointed ears, long legs, these bats use echolocation to detect ripples on the water's surface, then they swoop down to catch fish up in their talons. And one night, a bulldog bat can catch 20 to 30 small fish by skimming just below the water. They roost in hollow trees, caves, or even man-made structures. They don't only eat fish either, some will eat insects as well, but the larger ones focus on hunting in the water. What makes them even more eerie is their ability to store food in their cheek pouches and their large lips. Throw in the big, strong claws and you've got a creature that's as intimidating as it is weird. Next on the list is the Okari monkey, only found in the northwestern Amazon basin. These have to be just some of the most bizarre looking monkeys in the entire world. They have fur all over their bodies except their heads, and not only are their heads totally bald, they're also bright red. Looks like you just stuck two different animal pieces together or like someone took a razor to a regular monkey and cut all the hair on its head. Very strange. And those beet red faces are actually what attract these monkeys to each other. The redder the face, the more attractive they are to their mates. These monkeys often travel in groups, sometimes in packs of 100 or more, and tend to move around on the lower branches of the forest, foraging for fruit, flowers, seeds, and vertebrates, buds, and leaves. To me, these things look like demons, though. Electric eels are one of the scariest creatures lurking in the Amazon River. Even though they're not technically eels at all, they're actually more closely related to catfish, but that's not the point. These monsters can grow up to 8 feet long and have specialized cells called electrocytes that allow them to produce electricity. They can send out jolts of up to 600 volts. While one shock isn't really deadly to a healthy adult, getting hit multiple times can lead to heart failure or drowning. Many of the mysterious disappearances in the Amazon have been suspected of electric eels stunning their victims, leaving them helpless in the water. Luckily, these eels mostly stick to hunting fish, amphibians, and small mammals, but you definitely wouldn't want to stick around in the water too long if you saw one. A newly discovered species of catfish called Trichomyceterus anticus was recently found in a small river in the Amazon. This catfish is pretty small, measuring less than 3 inches. Its eyes are tiny and it has pointed, oddly arranged teeth. It doesn't look that different from other catfish except for a dark gray stripe running along its body and a few small spots near its back fin. What's truly weird is what researchers found when they looked at the catfish's DNA. A lot of species in the Amazon split off from each other around 5 to 2 million years ago during the Pliocene era. But this little guy took a different route. It branched off way earlier during the Miocene, which was about 23 to 5 million years ago. This ancient split earned it the name Anticus, which means old in Latin. This catfish is incredibly rare. Over several trips to the area by the team, only 4 of these fish were ever found. Scientists came across a bizarre silk structure that's been dubbed Silkhenge because it kind of looks like a tiny web version of Stonehenge. Found in 2013 in Tambopata, Peru, the structure is made up of a ring of tiny pillars surrounding a central cone. At first, no one knew what made it or why it looked so strange. Then, a few months later, scientists returned and discovered something amazing: baby spiders emerging from the webs. In December of 2016, researchers filmed the first ever video of the spiders hatching. In the footage, you can see 2 translucent golden orangey looking spiderlings pushing their way out of the silk cone. Biologist Phil Torres, one of the researchers, could barely contain his excitement as the hatchlings made their first steps. The spiders appear to belong to a new species, but much about them is still a mystery. Aaron Pomerantz, a researcher at UC Berkeley, explained that identifying species usually involves looking at adult spiders, but since none have been found yet, the creature behind the Silkhenge is still mostly unknown. Next up, we have a newly discovered parasitic wasp, nicknamed the vampire wasp, which looks just about as terrifying as it sounds. They were found at the perfect time, too, October of 2023, and I had to believe the Halloween season somehow influenced the naming of these things. That and the fact that these have to be the creepiest looking wasps in existence. Scientists discovered the new breed of wasps in the Peruvian Amazon. Brandon Claridge, a doctoral candidate in biology at Utah State University, along with his team, set up large tent-like traps to capture insects. Of course, a variety of insects were caught, but one stood out: the Capitojopa amazonica, aka the vampire wasp. These wasps not only sting their prey, but they also suck their blood, hence the vampire nickname. But to make things even more horrifying, they also lay larvae under the victim's skin. Luckily, these wasps don't have much interest in humans, at least not that we know of yet. Crazy thing about this little expedition is that the team apparently caught 108 other new species using these traps. It's just crazy how many animals are still not known to science. The Mashco Piro tribe, one of the most isolated and reclusive indigenous groups in the world, was recently spotted in the Amazon rainforest of Peru. These tribe members were seen near the Las Piedras River. Mashco Piro are believed to be the largest indigenous community still living without any outside contact. Over 50 tribe members were seen, and the images were confirmed by the indigenous rights group Survival International. Alfredo Vargas Pio, president of a local indigenous organization, told Survival International that these sightings are irrefutable evidence that the Mashco Piro live in this area. But there's concern over the tribe's safety. Logging companies have been granted access to the land. Vargas warned that contact with outsiders, especially logging workers, could introduce dangerous diseases that might wipe out the tribe. He also called for the Peru government to recognize and legally protect the Mashco-Piro's territory. In the heart of the Amazon rainforest, archaeologists discovered one of the largest collections of prehistoric rock art ever found. Stretching across nearly 8 miles of cliffs in Colombia, these paintings date back as far as 12,500 years and include thousands of images of animals and humans. The discovery includes images of extinct Ice Age creatures, like the mastodon and giant sloths, as well as horses and camels, meaning the people who created these paintings were some of the first humans to enter the Amazon. Jose Ariart, an archaeologist leading the research, was in awe of the level of detail in this work. He described the horse images as so detailed that you could even see horse hair, and noted that the paintings were so natural that they left little doubt about what was being depicted. Some of the paintings are huge, and a lot of them are so high up on cliffs that archaeologists actually had to use drones to get a clearer view. They even found evidence of wooden towers in some of the artwork, which might explain how the artists reached so high up. The team of British and Colombian researchers spent hours trucking through the dangerous territory where they had to navigate past deadly snakes and caimans. The electric catfish, one of the most bizarre creatures lurking in the Amazon River. This fish is capable of generating powerful electric shocks, up to 350 volts, which it uses to stun prey and defend itself from predators. Unlike electric eels, which generate their shock from a specialized organ, the electric catfish has a set of electrocytes, specialized cells that produce electricity running along its body. When it feels threatened or needs to catch food, the fish can release an electric charge strong enough to paralyze smaller fish, making them easier to swallow. These fish can be pretty big too, growing up to 3 feet long. They're also incredibly hard to spot because they have this muddy brownish appearance that blends in perfectly with the riverbed. They may not be as famous or dangerous as the electric eel, but getting shot can still cause pain and temporary paralysis. The Mapinguari is a mysterious creature said to lurk deep in the Amazon, and tribes have told tales of the creature for centuries, even ones that don't communicate with each other. It's described as a giant 7-foot-tall beast said to have a terrible fetid smell that can make hunters dizzy and disoriented. Some say it looks more like a giant ground sloth. Other depictions have it with like a big eye on the top and just a mouth on its stomach. Very strange. There have been multiple expeditions to find it, but no concrete evidence like bones or scat has ever been found. Some scientists think the creature could be based on stories passed down from a time when humans were actually interacting with giant ground sloths. These creatures are believed to have gone extinct around 10,000 years ago, but some think they might have lived much later. Over the last 25 years, a number of strange geoglyphs have been found in the Brazilian rainforest. These massive trenches, some up to 36 feet wide and 13 feet deep, are spread across about 5,000 square miles. They come in all sorts of shapes: circles, ovals, squares, octagons. The big question is, what were they used for? Well, these weren't homes or military fortifications, at least not from what we can tell. Archaeologists think they were used for ceremonies or rituals, but what's even more interesting is what these geoglyphs say about how ancient people used the land. A new study suggests that these early humans might have been way better at managing the forest than we are today. By digging into the soil around 2 geoglyph sites, researchers found that about 4,000 years ago, people were using controlled burns to clear land for farming. They also cleared certain trees and plants to make room for ones that were more useful to them. The big difference with today's deforestation, back then it was temporary and the forest was managed to keep valuable resources. As archaeologist Dr. Jennifer Watling puts it, deforestation in this area today is complete and long-lasting. A major drought in the Amazon in 2023 revealed some ancient petroglyphs carved into rocks along the Negro River, right where it meets the Amazon River. These carvings depict all sorts of things: human faces, animals, shapes like squares and circles that were created as long as 2,000 years ago. Indigenous archaeologist Carlos Augusto da Silva has been studying the petroglyphs, and he first spotted them during a drought back in 2005. But in October of 2023, the river's water level dropped so much that Silva found over 100 of these petroglyphs, the most he's ever seen. The exact age of the carvings is hard to pinpoint, since dating rock directly is tough. Ceramics found nearby, though, have been radiocarbon dated to around 2,000 years ago, so the petroglyphs might be from the same period, but there's no clear evidence linking the creators of the ceramics to the petroglyph makers. This is the longest period the petroglyphs petroglyphs have been visible in modern times, and archaeologists are concerned about potential damage with all the increased visitor interest. And we're starting off with the Sentinelese tribe, who live on North Sentinel Island in the Bay of Bengal. This is often referred to as the most dangerous island on Earth. Not only is it wrong to intrude on someone else's home for ethical reasons, but here it's also very dangerous. The Sentinelese are known to be very protective of their land, and people have met unfortunate ends after getting too close. The island is completely off limits to outsiders, but there's a recent case involving a man named John Allen Chow, who was a Christian missionary, part of an organization called All Nations. He trekked out to North Sentinel Island in 2018 with the goal of converting the tribe to Christianity, and seeing as I'm referring to him in past tense, it's pretty clear things did not end well for him. He began getting closer and closer to the island over a period of a few days, offering fish as an attempt to make a peaceful contact with them, but each time he would get close, he'd end up needing to retreat. At one point, a young tribesman even shot an arrow at him, which would have pierced Chow's chest if his Bible hadn't blocked it. Now, Chow saw this as a sign to keep pressing forward, and he made one final attempt the next day, telling the fisherman he was traveling with to leave him behind. And that was the last time he was seen alive. The fisherman later saw his body being dragged along the shore by members of the tribe. Next on the list we have Amazon tribes in Brazil. This image here was taken in 2008. It's pretty amazing. Clearly see 3 tribespeople, 2 who are pointing arrows right at the camera. This image, as well as many others, were taken as part of a project carried out by the National Indian Foundation, part of the Brazilian government, involved in the policies relating to uncontacted indigenous people. An uncontacted tribes expert named Jose Carlos do Reyes Morales Jr. made a statement about these images, which were captured near the Javari River Valley, stating, "We did the overflight to show their houses, to show they are there, to show they exist." He also discussed how these tribes are under threat from illegal loggers in Peru, going on to say, "What is happening in this region of Peru is a monumental crime against the natural world, the tribes, the fauna, and is further testimony to the complete irrationality with which we, the civilized ones, treat the world." And now we move on to Peru to discuss the Mashco-Piro tribe, also known as the Namol. Couldn't find a proper pronunciation of that, but the term Mashco translates to wild or savage, so definitely a more respectful term, which loosely means brothers and sisters or kin. They're a hunter-gatherer tribe that lives in the Manu National Park in Peru. They've actively avoided contact with outsiders for a long time, and there have been cases of violent conflicts with people who have tried to encroach on their territory, like the death of a local guide named Nicholas Flores. He was found with a bamboo-tipped arrow in his heart, and it's believed that the members of the Namole tribe were responsible. Now, around 2011, the tribe began being spotted a bit more often, reaching out to missionaries, tourists, and other locals for assistance. They started asking for food and tools, which puts the Peruvian government in a bit of a tough spot. It's important to remember that uncontacted people like this are very vulnerable, as they haven't built up the immunities we have to like all the diseases and illnesses that are common anywhere outside of their isolated communities. Next, we have the Toramona of Bolivia. This is an uncontacted tribe that lives in the upper Madidi and Heath rivers. In 2016, there were reports of encounters between workers involved in an oil exploration near the Peruvian border and this uncontacted tribe. The Bolivian State Oil Company, which had subcontracted the exploration work to BGP Bolivia, a subsidiary of a Chinese oil corporation, denied having these encounters at first. In August and September of 2016, workers clearing tracks through the forest started coming across footprints, broken branches, and empty tortoise shells, all showing there were people living out there. Then on September 17th, workers were surprised when they heard shouts from people nearby. BGP postponed work in the area and withdrew the workers. Then, a couple nights later, workers in their camp were surrounded by tribesmen believed to be from the same uncontacted group. And another indigenous group called the Tikana, who also live in the region, had previously warned against oil exploration, saying that it was a threat to the then uncontacted Toromona, but the president of the Bolivian State Oil Company denied the existence of an uncontacted tribe, stating, "The facts have been twisted. We will carry on with our work." This oil exploration would involve cutting hundreds of tracks through the forest and more than 61,000 small underground explosions in the Amazon's uncontacted frontier. With all the noise and workers, there was a very real risk of unplanned contact, not to mention encroaching on their home and endangering very vulnerable people. Again, exposing them to even common illnesses and diseases like the flu and measles could have killed them. Next on the list, we head back to Brazil to talk about the Caribou. This tribe has also been known to be very territorial, but for good reason. This indigenous tribe lives in the western Amazon basin. They choose to live in total isolation from the modern world. Their Portuguese name translates to clubbers because their preferred weapon is the club. FUNAI, Brazil's Agency for Indigenous Affairs, are the only group to have successfully made peaceful contact with the Caribou. They first tried in 1972, but that failed, and they stopped trying for a while after 7 of their workers died. But in 1996, they finally made some headway. The Caribou's main tribe, which is about a few hundred strong, separated from a smaller group and is still in complete isolation. But the smaller band have interacted with neighboring settlements and FUNAI employees over the years. FUNAI assists the tribe, giving them immunization shots and regular checkups. They've also established a national park to protect the Caribou's land from logging. Their goal is to preserve the tribe's way of life. Next on the list are the Awa, who have had a lot of issues with loggers. There are about 350 members of this tribe, and around 100 have zero contact with the outside world. Just like with all the tribes on this list, their isolation is very important to them, helping them avoid conflicts that have historically messed things up for them. And back in the 19th century, European settlers began clearing out their land, so the Awa were forced out of their land, becoming mostly nomadic. Fast forward to the 80s, some Awa moved to government settlements, but some have stuck to their traditional lifestyle, relying on their forest for everything they need. But in 1982, the Brazilian government got a massive loan, and part of the deal here was protecting the lands of certain indigenous groups, including the Awa. This was crucial because their forests were being invaded by outsiders, and the tribe was in danger of disappearing completely. Now, it took the Brazilian government a whopping 20 years to actually do something about it, but thanks to pressure from groups like Survival International, the Awa's land was officially marked as theirs in 2003. Sadly, though, at that point, their population had dropped pretty significantly because of encroachment and massacres. In 2011, things got even darker when illegal loggers burned a young member of the tribe alive who had wandered out of her village. This had been a warning to other indigenous groups. Between 2003 and 2010, around 450 indigenous people were killed, and investigators found loggers wrecking Awa camps. The Awa are facing the fastest deforestation in the Brazilian Amazon. Moving on to Ecuador now, we have the Tigari. This is one of 2 Guarani tribes that currently live in the Ecuadorian Amazon basin. Back in 1968, this group separated from the Guarani families because they didn't want to accept the influence of missionaries, and since then they've had minimal contact with the outside world and even other Guarani groups. In the 90s, some Guarani groups moved westward to escape some of the stuff going on that was encroaching on their land, like petroleum exploration and logging, and the Tigiri were one of those groups. And they're very protective of their way of life. They do not put up with outsiders trying to encroach on them. They've attacked missionaries and anyone they see as threats to their isolation, and power to them. The tribe is very small. Of Of course, it's hard to say exactly how many there are, but it's estimated there's only about 20 to 30 members. Back to Brazil once again. Now we have the Cauahiva. The Cauahiva people are an uncontacted indigenous tribe in Brazil living in the Rio Pardo region of Mato Grosso. It's estimated that there are at least 4 bands of uncontacted Cauahiva with around 15 individuals in the region. This tribe is mostly nomadic, and they're very rarely seen even by other indigenous groups. Most of what's seen from this tribe is just stuff they leave behind, like arrows, baskets and hammocks, sleeping mats. There are concerns that loggers intentionally keep them on the run, and there have been laws put forward to try and protect the tribe, like the Rio Pardo Indigenous Area designated in 2001. Legal protection has often been ignored, unfortunately, in the past, but there were arrests made in 2005. Businessmen, loggers, and squatters were found encroaching on the Cauahiva's land, but no one was ever tried. Legal protection was reinstated in 2007 and then intensified in 2012, creating an official reservation with more protective laws put in place. Next on the list we have the Aioreo. Now, most of this tribe now has contact with the outside world, but there is still a small group living in total isolation. There are around 100 uncontacted Aioreo people, divided into 6 to 7 groups. 3 of these groups are in the northern region of the Gran Chaco, along the border of Bolivia and Paraguay, and the other 3 to 4 groups are in the southern region of the territory. The biggest threats to these isolated groups are cattle farming and deforestation, the sale of their territory, searches for oil, and missionaries who want to enforce their beliefs on them. There are officially laws that grant the tribe the right to own their own land that they live on, preventing people from entering or selling it, but their land still gets redistributed. Some landowners will deny that there are tribes living there. And finally, we have the many uncontacted tribes living in the remote rainforests of West Papua. Now, unlike uncontacted tribes in Brazil, who have government protection, with groups like Funai, for example, there is no government protection in place for these tribes in West Papua. The human rights organization Survival International is one of the only groups petitioning to get laws in place to protect these tribes, wanting to raise awareness of their existence to help prevent encroachment on their land. At the same time, though, they also think it's important to keep details a bit vague, like their exact location and number of tribespeople. This can hopefully help prevent groups like missionaries from seeking them out.
10. City of Giants. We often talk about aliens being responsible for building great monuments like the pyramids, but did we ever consider it might be giants? In 2012, something was discovered deep in the Amazon that might suggest just that. A group of researchers, paired with a team of local guides, discovered what appears to be the remains of a large city close to the Ecuador side of the forest. At the center of the city was a large stone pyramid, 80 meters tall, with a flat area on top which held many artifacts. Scattered around the area were many things like old pottery and, most curiously, massive stone tools. They appeared to be much too large and heavy for any average-sized human to ever have been able to use. The government of Ecuador ruled that the formations were just naturally occurring, but the researchers heavily dispute this, saying that due to the rectangle-shaped bricks, cement-like bonding material, and perfectly circular holes, it can't possibly have been caused by nature. Instead, they, and others, believe that this was a city built by giants long ago. What you believe is up to you. Number 9. The Mapinguari Monster. There are many different tribes scattered throughout the Amazon, some without contact to each other, and some without contact to even the outside world. Yet one thing that they all have in common are their stories of a large 7-foot-tall rainforest beast, similar to many cultures' depictions of Bigfoot. The creature is described to be bulletproof and having long hair. It apparently also has a smell that is so strong it makes hunters dizzy. These stories are so widespread and similar that many researchers have gone out in search of the monster, with no luck so far. Some scientists say that this is likely just a legend passed down for centuries, dating back to when giant land sloths roamed the forests, but local people believe it to be a spirit that will kill those who hunt more than their fair share. Number 8. The Boiling boiling river. Hidden deep in the Amazon forest is a hidden river with unexpected and potentially magical properties. Children are told the legends of the boiling river, about a giant snake spirit that heats it up. Andre Russo went in search of the river after having been raised on the legends by his grandfather, wanting to know if the stories of a boiling river could possibly be true. He took a long journey to reach the supposed location of the river, having to ask permission from a shaman who guarded the waters in order to gain access and study it. Russo discovered that the average temperature of the river was a whopping 187 degrees Fahrenheit, with steam pouring out from the top. It's speculated that the river boils due to faults deep in the earth, but locals believe that it's a magical river with healing properties and use it in their medicinal practices. When Russo was there, he noticed the scariest part of the river, that it kills just about anything that falls into it, dead frogs and other animals floating around where he stood on the edge. Number 7. The Potu bird. Throughout the Amazon rainforest lives a bird known as the common Potu bird. If it's so common, then what makes it so scary? I mean, besides its face. First, let's mention these birds' tendency to always be found in pairs of two, a male and a female. Because of this, legend goes that there were two children, a boy and a girl, living with their father and stepmother. The stepmother was evil and greedy, wanting to gain all of her husband's inheritance, so she convinced the man to abandon his children within the forest to die. He succeeds, leaving them lost in the forest with no hope for them to find their way out. However, the mother spirit of the forest took pity on them and adopted the two as her own children, making them into birds. Stories go that the call of the Potu bird sounds like children calling out in anguish, desperate to escape the forest and return to their family. If you think this legend sounds a lot like Hansel and Gretel, you'd be right. This one just contains a lot less candy and witches. Number 6. Dangerous animals. Well, we've somehow made it this far without mentioning the many scary and terrifying creatures hiding within the depths of the forest. Life in the forest has evolved these creatures to have many unique and frightening abilities in order to survive. Let's start with perhaps one of their most famous, piranhas. Piranhas live in the Amazon River basin and are known for their incredibly strong and razor-sharp bites, even being known to have eaten human flesh. Next, poison dart frogs. While beautiful to look at, as their name suggests, they secrete a poison that can cause heart failure in just a few minutes. Arachnophobes look away, as I'm going to tell you about the Brazilian wandering spider. It is one of the most venomous spiders on the planet, and 8 different species of them wander the forest at night in search of food. So you may want to double check your sleeping bag before you get in, as their venom can lead to trouble breathing and paralysis. Finally, a very famous name in the rainforest, the green anaconda, or man-eater. These snakes can grow incredibly large and kill their prey by suffocating them within a tight coiled hold. Number 5. Amazon rings. The Amazon rings are famous massive circular ditches, sometimes up to 16 feet deep and just as wide. So how could these geoglyphs have appeared within the forest? The reality seems to be that these were created before the forest itself even existed. It's hard to imagine a time before the Amazon forest grew, but studies suggest that these rings were created long before the forest was. It's thought to be more remnants of life in the Amazon before the Europeans arrived, with an estimated 6 to 10 million people living in the area. It's unsure just what exactly these rings were used for, and some people have gone as far as to suggest that aliens left the markings in the ground behind, a sort of Amazon crop circle. It's unfortunate that the discovery of these rings was a direct result of the clear cutting and logging going on in the forest. Number 4. Lost cities. Even as recently as the 20th century, explorers have been venturing into the rainforest for supposed lost cities that have never been found. Some of those explorers even becoming lost, never to be seen again, like the tale of British explorer Percy Fawcett. As it turns out, scientists have discovered that these lost cities that so many went in search of likely did really exist, thanks to some high-tech helicopter remote sensing technology. It seems that there were massive cities that were abandoned only some 600 years ago, and it's believed that up to 2 million people lived in the rainforest at one point. The cities stretch for miles and include things like complex waterway systems and large conical pyramids. The true mystery is what happened to this civilization. How do entire cities disappear into the forest without a trace? As these cities were built with mud bricks and are almost completely destroyed, we may never know what really happened to them. Number 3. The man of the hole. One famous resident of the vast rainforest is someone you've probably never heard of before. He is known as the Man of the Hole, as no one knows his true name or who he really is. So why is he so famous? He's indigenous to the rainforest and is known to be the very last remaining member of his remote tribe. The rest of his people were killed by farmers and land grabbers who wanted to make use of the land that they'd been living on. As a result, he is the loneliest man in the world, no one knowing his language or how to communicate with him. And it seems as though he doesn't want anyone to anyways. He has attacked government officials who have tried to come close, living on his now protected territory, digging holes to hide in and capture animals, earning his name of the Man in the Hole. It's also thought that he may be making these holes to try and capture anyone who would dare get close to him. He has been caught on camera only a few times, showing us that he's still around. Number 2. El Tunche. If you ever, for some reason, find yourself walking through the rainforest and you hear a distant whistling sound, it would be wise of you not to seek it out, especially if you've been stomping on a few too many plants lately. That's because what you are hearing might be the call of El Tunche, a demon who wanders the forest, protecting the wildlife and condemning those who would harm it. If you haven't done any damage to the forest, then he'll probably just scare you off. But if you have, you might as well start running. By calling out, the demon is trying to entice you to whistle back and reveal your exact location to him. If you do so, El Tunche's call will grow louder and louder, following you wherever you go. Eventually, it invades your mind as you sleep, drawing you into madness. I think that's a good enough reason to start being a little bit kinder to our natural surroundings. Number 1. El Lobizon. A widespread legend across South America is that of El Lobizon. It is a werewolf-like creature that can be seen walking on all fours and also on its hind legs. Different from Western and Hollywood interpretations and depictions of werewolves, El Lobizon is not created through a bite, but instead born. Any 7th son that is born in an unbroken line of boys will become the creature, usually transforming around their 13th birthday. The stories have caused people to abandon, give up, or even kill their own 7th son. Every full moon, the boy will transform into the wolf-like creature, hunting down prey with unmatched speed and endurance. While just a legend, with a place as vast as the rainforest, who knows if El Lobizon isn't hiding in those darkest hidden corners.